I must be the greatest. I told the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
Muhammad Ali will be remembered as one of the greatest sportsmen and the greatest sports personality of the 20th century. He was quite simply an inspiring human being.
For me and many millions of people around the world, the greatest athlete of all time.
A wonderful athlete, a wonderful boxer, but I think most of all a wonderful human being.
Ali dazzled the world with his showmanship, shuffle hand speed and sharp wit.
I saw Sonny Liston a few days ago, Cash.
Ain't he ugly?
A three-time world heavyweight champion, Ali was one of the finest to lace up the gloves, but later in life dealt the cruelest of blows when diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
Ali raised the sport to a level that it could never have achieved without him.
I think it made an impression, a footprint on all sportsmen today.
He did everything through his career with conviction, with dignity, with courage.
There's never been a fighter like him, and there never will be again.
Ali was born Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. in Louisville, Kentucky on January the 17th, 1942. After his bicycle was stolen, Clay began boxing when he was 12. He won 2 national titles before taking Olympic gold in Rome in 1960 when just 18. On October the 29th, 1960, Cassius Clay won his first professional fight, a 6-round decision over Tony Hunsaker. From his second fight, he trained under Angelo Dundee in Miami. Flash, brash and cocky, he burst onto the scene with his outrageous rhymes and round predictions.
A dynamite right sends Archie Moore crashing to the floor.
He became the Louisville Lip, which wasn't to everyone's taste.
I'm young, I'm handsome, I'm fast, I'm pretty, and can't possibly be beat.
And at first, he wasn't the most loved of fighters, and people used to go to watch him lose.
Let me see you close your mouth and just keep it closed.
Well, you know that's impossible.
No, keep it closed.
You know that's impossible. I'm the greatest.
British fans first saw Clay when Henry Cooper knocked him down with a famous left hook at the end of the 4th round at Highbury in 1963. Angelo Dundee infamously bought Clay time in the corner, and Cooper, who was cut badly, was stopped in the 5th. Clay constantly called out the much-feared world heavyweight champion Sonny Liston, and the match was made for February 1964. At the weigh-in, Ali, who had dubbed Liston the Big Ugly Bear, declared that he would float like a butterfly and sting like a bee.
If you like to lose your money, be a fool and bet on Sonny.
Ali was a huge underdog, but once again he was spot on, and Liston was retired in his corner after 6 rounds in Miami Beach.
I must be the greatest. I told the world. I talk to God every day. I am the king of the world.
Hold it.
I'm pretty.
Hold it, you're not that pretty.
I'm a bad man.
Wait.
I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
At the time, the US was a volatile place, with the assassination of President Kennedy, the acceleration of the Vietnam War, and the fight for civil rights. Clay announced his allegiance to the black Muslim movement, the Nation of Islam, and Muhammad Ali was born.
Cassius Clay is a name no more, is that right?
Yes, sir. It's Muhammad Ali. Muhammad means worthy of all praises, and Ali means most high.
Now appearing at rallies with Nation of Islam leader Elijah Muhammad and closely linked to Malcolm X, Ali was one of the era's most recognisable but controversial figures and was disliked by some.
You know, I wasn't a huge fan of Ali at the time. He was pretty much anti-white, and the white man was the devil and so forth, and I didn't really care for that so much.
In May 1965, Ali knocked out Liston in the first round of their rematch with what became known as the Phantom Punch. There's long been debate about whether the innocuous-looking right hand genuinely hurt Liston or whether he threw the fight. In November that year, Ali stopped the former champion Floyd Patterson in 12, but early in 1966, his differences with the US government over Vietnam began to affect his career. Ali infamously said, "I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong."
His stand against the Vietnam War was really a stand against the draft.
Ali was now unpromotable in the US and took his title on the road, successfully defending it 9 times, including a 6-round stoppage against Henry Cooper at Wembley and a 3-round knockout of fellow Brit Brian London.
Muhammad Ali is still the undefeated world heavyweight champion and looks like he's at his brilliant best.
He was just extraordinarily fast. These movements were very, very good. I wish I'd have been as good as him.
He eventually returned to America, where in 1966 he destroyed Cleveland Williams in 3 rounds in one of his finest and most emphatic displays.
Against Cleveland Big Cat Williams, that was the best boxing performance I've ever seen.
In February 1967, Ali was at his most ruthless and insulting as he taunted Ernie Tyrrell for 15 rounds. And the following month, he knocked out Zora Foley in 7. Yet Ali refused to call up to the army, which angered many. His boxing licence was withdrawn and a jail sentence handed down, but was never served because of the lengthy appeal system.
His refusal to take up arms against Vietnam and stuff like that. I mean, now that's quite fashionable. Back at that time, it was, it was an amazing thing to do, a very, very brave thing to do. It harmed his career. It could have ruined his life.
Arguably, Ali lost the best years of his career. The New York Commission stripped him of his heavyweight title, but Ali had stood up for his rights.
Even if it means facing machine gun fire that day, I will face it before denouncing Elijah Muhammad and the religion of Islam. I'm ready to die.
And here was a guy who stood up for his own convictions in the face of tremendous pressure and proved in the end that his positions were correct.
We'd never know what he would have done in that 3.5 years, what fights could have happened, but he took a stand, and that's what I believe makes him different from the rest.
Even exiled from the ring, Ali transcended the sport and was still a massive attraction and public draw.
We look at Miss America, we see white. We look at Miss World, we see white. We look at Miss Universe, we see white. Even Tarzan, the king of the jungle in back Africa, he's white. Who's the heavyweight champion of the world?
By this stage, Smoking Joe Frazier was the new king. After 3.5 years out, Ali returned to the ring at 28 to stop Jerry Quarry in 3 and Oscar Bonavena in 15 rounds. It set up a shot at regaining the world title against Frazier in Madison Square Garden in 1971. Both were undefeated, and it was a fabulous battle, with Frazier at his peak to outfight Ali and floor him in the 15th and win on points. Ali had lost for the very first time.
It was a 15-round classic. Frazier just won it, and he did win it. He put Ali down in the 15th and last round. Ali rolled over and was up at 4, and that's why I say he had the greatest chin on any heavyweight there's ever been.
His bravery and honesty in defeat won over more fans, while opinion was also shifting over Vietnam. By now, people really liked Muhammad Ali, and everybody knew him. After 10 wins around the world, including victory over Joe Bugner, he was upset by a former US Marine, Ken Norton, on a split decision in March 1973. Norton broke Ali's jaw. It was an equally hard rematch, Ali exacting revenge on points. At the start of 1974, Ali outpointed Frazier in their second fight. Frazier had by now lost his title to the new force, George Foreman. Ali was given the championship chance that had eluded him for 3.5 years in October 1974 in Kinshasa, Zaire. The Rumble in the Jungle was promoted by Don King.
Tremendous guy, broke the barrier, gave a guy like myself an opportunity in the land of opportunity. Never could have happened without a guy like Muhammad Ali.
No one gave Ali a hope, but he proved his ring genius with one of the most audacious tactical plans ever, letting the huge-hitting unbeaten champion blast away while he employed his rope-a-dope strategy until Foreman had punched himself out.
I beat him the first round. I beat him pretty good the second round. The third round, I beat him real bad. The 6th round, I really put it on him. And then about the 7th round, I hit him in the side real hard, and he kind of fell to me. And then when he fell on me, he said, "That's all you got, George?" I'm thinking, yep, that's about it.
In the 8th round, Ali knocked Foreman out to regain his crown. It was more than 7 years since he had been stripped of his title and sent into exile.
Mastermind is such a fantastic strategy, a scary strategy that most people didn't understand at the time. But looking back, it was perfection. And that, for me, that one fight there, is probably the most iconic and most impressive boxing match of all time.
People feared for his life that night, and yet he came through victorious. He came through in a style that nobody would ever thought he would do. And, you know, he proved everybody wrong.
I told you, all of my critics, I told you all that I was the greatest of all time.
Soon afterwards, Ali accepted a third fight with Joe Frazier in the Philippines. The Thriller in Manila in October 1975 was an epic. Frazier was pulled out at the end of the 14th by trainer Eddie Futch.
It's all over.
Both had given it everything.
That was the most brutal heavyweight title fight in history. They punched each other virtually to a standstill, and Eddie Futch, Frazier's trainer, didn't want him to go another 3 minutes in case it became a fatality. And Ali was at the end of his tether as well, although Futch didn't realise how exhausted Ali was at the time.
Maybe Ali then should have called it a day. After that, training became more erratic and the decline was setting in. Even so, few felt a 7-fight novice, Leon Spinks, could have beaten Ali. He did, and he was in the right place at the right time. After 15 rounds by split decision, and at the age of 36, Ali was now an ex-champion. Ali wanted revenge, and in September 1978, gave a final glimpse of his former brilliance by dancing his way to a 15-round decision. He created history by becoming the first man to hold the world heavyweight title 3 times.
Winning the world title for the 3rd time against Spinks, to win it back when nobody gave him a chance, you know, he was an old man, and he did it.
He retired, but was persuaded to return. In October 1980, Ali was systematically outboxed by his former sparring partner, Larry Holmes. Everyone hoped he would not box again. But in December 1981, just before his 40th birthday, Ali did, losing a one-sided 10-round decision to Trevor Berbick. By then, he was seriously ill, and in 1984 was diagnosed with Parkinson's syndrome. A whole new battle outside the ring had begun. He settled into his new life and won huge respect with the immense bravery and dignity with which he continually carried himself. Despite the disability, he remained a much-loved, popular and active figure, devoting himself to humanitarian endeavours around the world.
I was 9 years old, and I used to train in this gymnasium called the Resurrection Gymnasium. And who walks in? Muhammad Ali, in a sweatsuit, puts on his gloves, nobody bothered him, starts hitting the heavy bag. He would kid around with everybody, we would take pictures with him, such a wonderful guy.
This is probably the greatest day my gym's ever had. 4 hours just telling jokes, doing magic tricks, working out, hitting the heavy bag, flirting with the girls. He was the greatest.
In 1996, he had the honour of lighting the flame at the Atlanta Olympics, a courageous but emotional sight to see. Many believe his condition was a symbol of the costs involved in the hardest sport of all.
Even President Clinton, who was President of the United States at the time, admitted that he cried when he saw him light the flame, riddled with Parkinson's, trembling. And that was his bravery. He overcame his disability to perform that act. It brought a lump to your throat and tears to your eyes.
Muhammad Ali has been the subject of many photographs, books and films, and Louisville remains a shrine to him. He was married 4 times and had 9 children. One daughter, Layla, became a fighter. Ali was one of the most universally known figures in modern history. He was unquestionably one of the finest heavyweights of all time, right up there with other legends. Jack Johnson, Jack Dempsey, Joe Louis, and Rocky Marciano.
His achievements in the ring, his achievements outside of the ring, especially becoming champion in civil rights movements and so much political reasons why he shouldn't have been champion. He overcome adversity and he made history. Great champion, great icon, and he was a global figure of the days of no social media as well.
I think he would have beaten any heavyweight. He would have found a way, because so often in his career, when the odds were stacked so strongly against him, he found a way to win, and that's what made him special.
He never shied from controversy, was a political activist as well as a ring genius, and always made the world sit up and listen.
Every head must bow, every knee must bend, every tongue must confess, thou art the greatest of all times, Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali will also be remembered for being a compassionate human being.
He meant so much for the sport, and he meant so much for the world.
He was named the sportsman of the last century. Maybe the human being of the last century would sum him up better.
People who weren't interested in boxing were suddenly interested in Muhammad Ali, what he had to say, his quick wit, his humour, his poetry. You know, he used to do some real crazy things that, you know, that captivated the world.
I doubt if the world was to revolve on its axis for another 1,000,000 years, there'll never be another Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay, ever.
Muhammad Ali was indeed, by his own frank admission, the greatest.